Mark, obviously frustrations last time out. How has the week been back in training with everyone?
Oh, the week's been fine. We've trained really well. Obviously touched on last week and our inability just to break a team that came with a low block. So we've been doing a little bit of work on that just for future reference, so that if we do come up with teams that do that against us, then we'll have more strings to our bow. That's the key to it. It's about recognising the areas we can attack and exploit the opposition if they do want to sit in and make it difficult for us. So that's something we'll continue right through the season, just getting better at it with repetition of work.
In a way, is it good that that's happened so early in the season, so you can work on that early?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's just flagged up something now we expect to face on quite a regular basis if the events of the first game are anything to go by. So yeah, if we feel we'll need to work on what we need to do and which areas of the pitch that we need to exploit when teams come and make it difficult for us. And there's ways around it, and there's things that we can do tactically and as well as obviously making sure that we have the physicality and the determination to get beyond people. I think probably that was one of our failings on the day, was that we didn't get beyond their back line enough, either with accurate passing and crisp passing and direct play in terms of people taking anybody on. We didn't have too many examples where someone in a 1v1 situation was able to beat a man. So I think we on occasion played a little bit safe. So top end of the pitch, I will always encourage the lads to have a go and be creative. So I think that's the message we've been talking about, as well as obviously the areas we can exploit.
And just positives going into Saturday's game, what have you worked on during the week and taken from the week?
Not just that, we've on the day we did a lot of good things. Other things that clearly we need to improve on as the season progresses, but nothing of any concern really. We're very early in the season. We're one game in, and we're going to get better. Opposition teams will try and get better as well, but it's up to us to make sure that our improvements are larger than theirs, and we're able to take advantage of the quality that we have in the squad. On
Manny's injury, we've had the successful surgery. Is there a rough time frame for Manny's recovery?
Well, I don't. It's a serious injury, obviously, and the likelihood is that we won't see Manny this side of Christmas, obviously. So you're looking at 6 months plus, probably 5-6 months plus, which tells you in itself the seriousness of the injury. But the operation's gone well, and touch wood, no complications. Then that's probably the time frame we're looking at.
Have you managed to speak to him? And obviously, apart from the situation he's in, how is he?
Yeah, he was very positive, but that's the guy. Manny's very positive in his outlook, and he's got great determination, and his character is really strong. So he's got all the attributes that you'll need to come through this period in his football career and come out really stronger on the other side. That was the message I give him, that when he does come back, he'll be stronger physically and mentally.
Does it open up, with Manny's injury, the route possibly for more incomings before the transfer window closes?
Possibly, only if we think we can bring in a little bit of quality or something maybe a little bit different. We'll look at the options that are available to us. Some interesting things, again, passed across me at the moment, and we just need a little bit of time to go through them. But yeah, there's a possibility that we might still do some business. I think I've already said that. So there are options still open to us.
The name Scott Banks keeps cropping up. Can you shed any light on that at all?
No.
We'll move on. When Manny came off, Levi obviously replaced him, but you've got options like Harry Chapman, Andy Cook, Levi, as we mentioned, on the bench. Have you spoken to those three, and have you worked out who will be taking that place coming up against Barrow?
No, we'll do that tomorrow. Obviously, I wanted to make sure that everybody's sound and ready to go. We've got other options as well. Alex Gilliard will be available. He's had a good week's training. He's a fit boy. Doesn't really need top-ups. And sometimes when you've been out for 2-3 weeks, like Gilly has been, then you need maybe a week and a half of good training to be back to where you were before the injury. But Gilly is arguably one of our fittest players that we have. So I feel he's probably in decent enough shape to be an option for us. So we've got good options. We've got Jake Young as well, who obviously can play out wide in those positions. So all the ones that you've mentioned, and obviously the options I've mentioned.
Cian Harrett, have you had a chance to see that incident back, and what did you make to that, and what have you said to Cian in the aftermath?
Well, we're of the same mind as we were at the time, that it was something or nothing, and it wasn't anything in comparison to the challenge that Manny faced, the consequences of that. But it's that old adage of, if you raise your hand, then referees are going to deem it to be violent conduct, which sometimes it should be taken into context, and the level of so-called violent contact should be determined. But that's not the case at the moment. If you raise your hands, then you're likely to get the full hit. So it looks clearly like we're going to be missing him for three games.
Going into Saturday, it was some occasion, wasn't it? Last week, as we mentioned, it's going to feel a bit different going up to Barrow this weekend. How do you ready your players to adapt to different situations and to go to a tight ground, passionate fan base like what we've got at Bradford City? But it's going to feel slightly different to last week.
Yeah, but the majority of the guys have experienced playing there. We've got Matty Platt there, obviously was an ex-player, so he knows all about it. So we're still going to have a full complement. I think our allocation is sold out, so that's fantastic support once again that we've got. So we're looking forward to it. I think probably, in my view, there wasn't too many good things to come out of the weekend, but probably the one thing was that we're not going into it overconfident. I think, as I said before, I thought if we just scored one goal, we would have scored 3 or 4. And there might have been that possibility that we'd gone into this game thinking it was going to be an easy fixture and everything would go our way, but we haven't had that experience last weekend. So the focus is really, really strong on this game to make sure that we have a good performance and a good result.
And they scored 3 goals away at Stockport last week. They've certainly shown that they're going to be no pushovers.
Yeah, I've watched the game a couple of times, and they took their chances, were quite bright in terms of their pressing, and they want to obviously continue in the same vein. As a home side, they will have a different set of problems to deal with. Sometimes it's easier to play the way they play away from home because they can look for quick attacks and some good finishes, good play throughout the game. So it's not an easy task for us, but one we're looking forward to, as I've already said.
And just finally, you mentioned Alex could be back in contention as well. Any other players potentially returning, or on the flip side, any other fresh injury concerns going into the weekend?
No, we're just going to check on Jamie Walker, who's just got a little bit of irritation in his knee, so we just need to make sure about that. Apart from that, usual bumps and bruises you get in training sessions, but nothing that will take people out of the game itself.
Thanks for your time.
One of the things you must have been pleased with last week, we mentioned it to Blackley, is the way they stuck at the game plan, because the frustration was clearly there, but they kept playing the way you want them to play.
Yeah, well we're not going to go away from that style of play, because that's what we've worked on. That's what we've worked on since I've walked in the building, and for the most part, I think everybody recognises that it's the right way to go. I've talked about having control in games, and certainly we had that at the weekend. What we need to do is convert that control and that dominance in the game to clear-cut chances and goals and wins. So that's a challenge for us. That's what we've talked about all week, and the weeks progress. I think we'll get better in that respect in terms of knowing when we can attack with numbers, when we sometimes have to be a little bit more patient, and it's just being able to decide and make those decisions at the key times and when they're warranted. And if you make those decisions correctly, then you'll create chances and you'll score goals. So it's just about obviously sticking with the game plan. We know it's the way we want to play. We know it will give us opportunities as the season progresses. It's just making sure we get the balance right.
As you said, the way Barrow played last week probably suits being away from home better. But if they have to come at you, that could suit you at Barrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's early in the season, so it's difficult to see because you haven't got the benefit of a body of work from them for this season. You can only go off what they've possibly done last year, and maybe obviously with a new manager with his previous clubs, can you get a little bit of an insight into how we will shape up being a home side? So, because there is a difference, because opposition teams will set different problems for you when you're obviously a home game or a home side or an away side. So it's a little bit difficult to really say firmly which way they'll go because we don't know. But I think this week it's more about what we've been doing and what we want to do against opposition teams, and that's been the focus.
Thanks very much.
So Mark, was he talking about Alex Gilliard? I mean, I know in previous roles he sort of came here as a winger, but he can play down the middle. I think he even played as sort of a deeper midfielder at some times last season. How do you sort of see Alex?
In all those roles, if I'm honest, I think he's a great player to have in the building. That versatility is really invaluable, and his fitness levels allow him to be effective in whatever role you ask him to do. He's always someone who will affect the game in a positive manner. So that's credit to him and his ability and his fitness levels, and his understanding of the game. If you give him a certain role, and it requires, obviously every position in the team requires different elements to your play. So he's an intelligent footballer. He's able to take that on board and understand what's required if he's in a different position from one week to the next.
And obviously he was one who was already here when you came in and through all the changes. I mean, is he someone you've had to speak to because he's seen all these players coming in different positions, sort of wondering, well, how do I fit into your plans?
No, I don't think so. I think he's one of the senior players in terms of the group itself as well. He's got a good voice within the group, well respected, and respected for his presence and respected for his ability. So I think he's one of those players that will back his own ability to be one of the main players in the team. I would imagine that's the way he's thinking this season will pan out. He's obviously a little bit frustrated that he had to miss out on a number of weeks in pre-season because he was absolutely flying. Got the injury in Spain and really unfortunate, but up to that point he was ahead of everything in terms of what he was doing. So it's good to get him back because having him as an option gives me more variation and more flexibility in terms of what I want to do before, during and after games, really, in terms of whether or not I start Gilly or whether or not he comes on or whether or not he starts the game and I change his position while he plays. It's a really good option when you've got a player of that ilk.
I was going to ask you very briefly about Pete Weil, the Barrow manager. Obviously, sort of opposite end of the spectrum to yourself. He's sort of still learning his managerial career. You know, he obviously locally he did a great job at Halifax with a team with not great resources and took them to the playoffs a couple of times. I mean, he looks like it's a big opportunity for him, this getting into the Football League, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but I think that was the natural next step for him. He'd paid his dues, so to speak, and done his work, and I was very close last year, obviously with Halifax, and he probably felt, and I think everybody else felt, that it was time for him to make this step again, and credit to him. It'll be interesting to see how he does. He's at a club that has had recent success in terms of promotions into the Football League, so he'll know the levels that he's working with. So I fully expect him to have an impact this year.
And obviously being their first home game on the back of that great result last weekend, it's going to add an extra edge to it, isn't it? Because they're going to come, they're going to be well up for this one.
Yeah. No, you want to have a good start, and obviously going away from home to one of the fancy teams in this league this year, and to get the result they did, and in the manner they did it, that's credit to them. So clearly they're in a positive frame of mind, and we will have to be ready for that and ready for obviously the confidence levels that they've got at the moment.